Prince Harry has given evidence for a good portion of this week against Mirror Group newspapers over what he alleges was phone hacking on an industrial scale. We're going to pick through this now with Jonathan Coad live in London. He's a PR professional and a media lawyer as well. Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So how do you think Prince Harry went this week? He didn't appear overnight, folks, it's worth adding, but the case is still running. But how did you think the Prince went?
Well, the first thing to say is how completely epic this is. You know, we are looking at something which has really not happened in the British courts ever. The second son of a king in the king's courts being cross-examined by a king's counsel. Well, I think he did pretty well. He was never going to win the case in the day and a half he was being cross-examined. His job really was not to lose it. And I don't think he did lose it. Right. I was sitting there watching him, but I think he handled himself pretty well. So
when you say he did well, is that coming from a PR perspective or a legal perspective?
Well, look, I'm a media lawyer. I've been a media lawyer for 30 years. Okay, I can be called a PR lawyer, and that's fine, but I've also been a defendant lawyer. I've acted for ITV, Channel 4 News, Sky. So I've looked at it from both sides. What my job when I was commentating for Sky, I was their expert for 3 days to try to make an assessment as to whether he was going to win or lose. My best judgment, he did pretty well in his day and a half. And with the very important cross-examination of the royal editor of the Mirror, which happened on the Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning, if I had to bet on a horse, my bet would be that he's going to win.
What's the smoking gun here?
Well, when you're dealing with a situation where you're trying to uncover covert activity, it's pretty difficult. So what you've got to try and do is put a jigsaw puzzle together, put all the pieces in place and say, well, look, Judge, if you look at all this together, the only conclusion you can come to is there's been a whole load of what we call in the trade unlawful information gathering. The nearest he got to a really strong smoking gun was this. So at the time, his girlfriend was a lady called Chelsy Davy.
Yeah.
And they went on a holiday in Mozambique. And as he described in the witness box in a pretty poignant series of cross-examination questions, before they even got there, they found paparazzi waiting for them. Now, the important thing was not that. The important thing was that there was a report in the Daily Mirror about the flight arrangements for his return. Now, what he said to the court there in the KC for the Mirror, King's Counsel for the Mirror, is this: there is no way on God's earth anybody was going to know my flight details for the flight home. And the reason for that is I'm a senior royal. It's a security risk.
Right.
And there is only, therefore, one way that this information could have gotten to paper is that it was blagged out of the airline.
Right. But that's still a suspicion, though, isn't it, Jonathan? There's no hard proof.
Well, you're right. But, when you're dealing with covert activities, there rarely is hard proof. All that the judge has to do is to look at all the evidence, put it into a pot, boil it down and say, right, on the basis of the boiled down residue, is it more likely or is it not that Prince Harry was the subject of unlawful information gathering? Now, we'll find out. My best guess, we'll find out in September, because this is part of a whole series of phone hacking cases, unlawful information gathering cases. They'll finish at the end of June. Then he's going to have a tough job in July and August, trying to write a judgment. My guess is we'll find out in September. As I say, my best guess is that Harry will win. And part of the reason is this: he's got 33 articles. He's only got to win one of them. The Mirror's got to defeat all 33. So statistically, he's more likely to win. Right.
So like you said there, even if he just wins one, then he can claim it as a success. It would be worth it for him.
Yeah. He's obviously not in it for the money.
So what do you make? And we'll close here. How have you described the defence? The reasons that they've come up with. Has that been good enough in your eyes? Has that been plausible?
Well, listen, the King's Counsel for the Mirror is a super smart geezer. Harry's been in the trenches against the Taliban, but his comfort zone is not in a court. The case he's done very well. He's landed some blows on Harry. essentially what he's saying is all you can do is speculate. There may be other legitimate ways in which this information has been got. Only the judge will be able to tell us whether he believes that or not.
Sure. OK. Jonathan, good to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much for your time. It's Jonathan Coad there, PR professional, as well as a media lawyer right across the case. Big week it was for Harry. We'll wait to see how that all goes. Thanks, Jonathan.